In this video, what I actually want to do is talk about the best indicator out there. Okay, but to understand what that best indicator is, I need to tell you a little bit of a backstory. Now, in early 2000, I would say 1998 more or less, when I was first working for a bank, my first entry-level position at the bank was dealing with technical stuff. Okay, so I would be helping repair computers and their monitors and their hard drives. I know, being an Indian guy or an Indian looking guy, it's like, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? So I started my journey from that route, and I was always fascinated with trading. It was always something that was sort of like poking me in the back of my head saying, you need to look into these things. You need to look into these things. Every time I used to arrive at the bank, all the nicest cars were the traders' cars. When I used to arrive at the bank and I used to hear people talking about the different salaries, all the highest salaries belonged to the traders. And now that fascination was kept growing in me of like, what do they do? How do they do it? And can I know more? So every time I used to end up going to the trading floor where they had all their computers and stuff set up, and I was called in because I need to, replace a monitor or replace their hard drive for them or anything like that, I used to always see this one particular indicator, desk after desk after desk. Now, whenever I used to ask the traders, what is this indicator that's on your screen? I understand the red and green stuff that's going up and down as candlesticks. I've studied that. But what's this stuff on your screen? And why is everyone's desk have that particular thing? And every time I saw this, I would ask them this question, and their response would generally be very generic. Well, the best indicator technically is the knowledge that you get from the street. Now, that didn't really give me the answer I was looking for, because I can clearly see on their screen they had this one particular indicator. So as I dove into this industry of trading, I worked hard for a living. Okay, I worked hard for a living, and I'm sure you do too. But if I was going to switch from working for a living to trading for a living, it was very clear that I didn't want to work even harder to make less. I want it to be the opposite way around. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to be able to do less to earn more? That's the whole premise of trading. That's why I got involved, and I'm sure that's why you're getting involved. So it was this fascination that pulled me in, and it was through this indicator where I got really fascinated into this industry, or I got pulled into this industry, let's put it that way. Fast forward down the line, here we are today, and now I know how to trade, I know what needs to be done, and it somehow connects to that indicator time and time again. Now, before I can get into the indicator itself, I want to show you guys a little bit on how I trade and how does my day look like when I start to trade. Now, while I do that, I'm also going to share with you my screen right now so we can go on to the charts. I want to show you very, very quick. If you guys also allow me, I will. All right, here we go. CAD yen. Okay, fantastic. So price has gone down a little bit today, but overall, I'm running at approximately $71,000 on this thing. I am expecting a little over $200,000 for this trade to generate. I've been in this trade for several days now. I started just, when NFP hit earlier this month. Sorry, I shouldn't say several days, several weeks. And I'm still holding on to this thing as I do see further increase in this. But this is not the reason why we're here to talk about, is I can show you how I actually did this thing, and I want to talk you through it, because I think it's more important for me to explain to you how is trading actually done, and then how that indicator actually connects into the way trading is supposed to be done. And it's going to be very fascinating. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised of how these things shape up and how they work together. Remember, my goal and the goal of Urban Forex is to make super complicated things as easy as possible, because again, I don't want to be working double, triple, quadruple to make the same amount of money or less. I want it to be the other way around. I wanted to make sure things are getting easier and the output is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm sure that's the goal that you have for yourself as well, and that's the goal that I always strive for. So over the years, as I have built Urban Forex, the focus has still been the same. We've refined the process, made it simpler and simpler and simpler and simpler. Okay, and I want to share with you guys today on what some of that process looks like and what it means. So one of the things that got me fascinated into trading, and as I started to talk to some of these senior traders all around the world as I went throughout my career, I was fortunate enough to meet some wonderful people who actually took me under their wing and said, all right, come here, you little brown guy, I'm going to show you how it works. And it is from there my journey began. They first made me look at the charts and say, what do you see? Well, I saw what everybody else says. I see red stuff, I see green stuff, I see numbers fluctuating, and it just felt like a casino. Let's put it that way. It just felt very amusing and all this sparkly stuff all over the place. So my journey began from there, and as these seniors started to train me, they said, what you're looking at is a representation of a product. So I had to take a moment and think about this. Like, okay, you mean in this particular case, let's say CAD yen. You mean CAD yen? They're like, yes. But what you see is a representation of the behavior of CAD yen. Interesting. Okay, I'm with you. I follow along. Then they went on to say is everything that you see on the chart is how is price responding at the current moment? How was price responding before the current moment? I thought that was fascinating. Okay, I get that. It makes sense here. But what does it mean? How does it help me make my millions, right? They're like, that was my main concern. Like, yeah, come on, get to it. Like, how does it help me? And they would then go on to explain, everybody around the world is trying to make sense of these charts in their own way. Most of them are trying to put certain indicators on it. Most of them are trying to make sense out of it by saying when the moon does this, when the sun does that. There's a lot of guesswork. But they said trading is not a guessing game. It's a probability game, but it's a very high probability game. Okay, these were music to my ears. I love that. I actually love those words because I understand that it's not 100% winning. I wasn't that stupid. I understood that. But at the same time, I was like, tell me more. What does this mean? As they went further to explain, okay, I'm going to take you through the journey from one mentor to the other as I went through. So this initial mentor was guiding me through the process of understand what you're looking at. Everything that you see is in relation to what the price is of that product. So whether you're looking at it in terms of stocks, Forex, cryptos, or anything that you're looking at, it has a relation to what it's doing, what's the price right now. Then he began to tie into, let's forget the screen. And if we now go into a store, do you know about the things that are in the store? Which of these items can you relate to? I was like, I don't know. I can't really relate to any of these items because I don't buy microwaves, fridges, and this on a regular basis. So he said, what do you buy on a regular basis? So I said, well, maybe I'll buy some fruits and vegetables. I will, I occasionally might buy an iPhone. I will buy some clothes once every 6 months or 3 months. I'll buy some clothing that I would like to require. He's like, good. So you go, and when you do these purchases, do you do any research? Yes, I like to read the reviews. I want to find out what there needs to be, where is the best place to shop from? How do I get the best price? Is it really good? What are other people saying about it? He's like, good. So you're putting in a little bit of research, right? It's like, yes. He's like, that process of doing the research has become easier over time. Before, back in the day, you had to call your friends and you'd be like, hey man, I'm looking to buy some clothes. What do you recommend? Or someone would wear something and you'd be like, oh, where'd you get that? Now it's become easier because we can just click, and we can get the reviews. We can get whatever we desire at our fingertips. So it's become easier than ever before to trade with knowledge. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm with you 100%. But he said one of the things you need to understand is you got to understand that when you look at a particular product that you know, you can understand the behavior of the movement of price because you're used to dealing with it. Okay? And I try to tie in that story with, well, what if I'm dealing with my charts now? I get what you're trying to say. I understand what you're trying to tell me. But if I do this with my charts now, how can I relate to my charts? Because I don't know anything about any chart. If I'm looking at Euro USD, I don't know what that means. I've never bought it before. I've never sold it before. I don't know how the price moves there. He's like, good, that's a good start. We would like to know this information. Okay. Then he said, let's talk about some of the basics. Okay. So when he said, let's talk about some of the basics, in my mind is, when he says basics, he said, imagine yourself now when you have to go buy some clothes. If the clothes that you normally buy is $50, would you buy it? Yes, if I like it, why not? Now, if the clothes is suddenly $200, would you buy it? No, I would. That doesn't make any sense to me. He's like, what if it's the other way around? If that $50 clothing item that you would go to buy, it's selling to you for $100, would you buy it? Yeah, of course. What if it became $75? Would you buy it? Definitely. What if it was $80? Would you buy it? Yeah. He's like, so your anchoring is around a certain price, and anything below that price, you're happy to accept. He says people in trading are doing this all wrong. When prices go below, it turns negative for them and they panic. While you just told me that you would be interested in buying, the rest of the world is not interested in buying. They look at that as a loss and they want to get out of that position. Now that hit me like a ton of bricks, whereas like I've been dabbling with my demo account for a while, and every time I used to get into a trade, I wanted my trade to go in a particular direction. And if I wasn't a buy, it needs to go up. But if it goes down, I don't like it. Should I close it? Should I hold on? I have no idea. And then I would search for different types of strategies and techniques and say, well, how do I do this? But when this individual was telling me this story and saying, but when you know the price and you understand the price and the price has become cheaper, you generally would like to buy it, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. And that is when I developed my concepts of I need to change my perception of what am I looking at on my screen? What is this thing? So apart from just green and red candles, I started to understand it's a story unfolding about a particular product. I'm just calling that product Euro USD. I'm calling that product CAD Yen. Now, once I understood that, then I started to work backwards and saying, I wonder that indicator that I used to see at the bank, I wonder if it has a role to play with this newfound knowledge that I have. So the very first things that I started to do, I'm going to show you on my screen. I started to look for, how do I know what price is a good price, right? Wouldn't you want to know what price is a good price? I mean, I know I would, because if I don't know what price is a good price, how do I know if something's cheap or not, right? So I had to get that clear in my head. So I started looking at things in a particular way. So if I take a look at this, for example, okay, let me remove this box here. So it's just easier to see. I'll make this bigger. I'll even zoom in a bit so that way it's easier to watch. If, for instance, you and I, we just simply look at this as imbeciles, right? We don't know anything. We're stupid. We have no idea. Help us. Okay. If we just look at this simply as, well, what do we see? I see green stuff, red stuff, and I see a date on the bottom, and I see price on the right, right? That's all we see. We see all of this. We see the dates on the bottom. We see price on the right side. Now, I can manipulate these things by saying, I want my charts to look differently. I want my pricing to look different, because if I change my pair, the price will change. And if I change my time frame, my dates will change. I can manipulate that. That is in my control. But whatever I do in my control doesn't change the fact that the price will change for that product. That's still the same. So if for a particular product, the price went to $32, whether I look at that in an annual screen or a minute screen or a 5-minute screen, it went to $1. The price went there. Okay, so time frame is an illusion or doesn't matter because price went there. Okay, interesting. I get that. So now what do I do with this information? Okay, as I went deeper down this rabbit hole, I started to understand, okay, if I look at my screen, I know I need to anchor down somewhere and I need to buy at a particular price point that I can be okay with. I need to know what's considered cheap so I can buy it. Remember, if I can buy it cheap enough, then I will be able to make more money as prices go back to normal, right? So if you know something is worth $100 and you can buy it at 70, that's a good deal, right? That's cheap enough. That's easy money. But if you can get it at 50, that's even easier money. But when we trade, the lower the price goes, the more we panic. We don't get greedier, we get panicky. Okay? So first thing I wanted to do is get my brain right of how do I know what the price should be? Okay. So that journey took me down the line, rabbit hole, if you want to put it that way. And I'm going to explain to you on how over the years I've developed it to make it easier and easier and easier over time. So a couple of things. Okay, I'm going to go into a higher time frame. One thing is I take a look at this thing and I see what's happening to the price. Okay, this is the current price. And the price for whatever time period it is, it went from whatever this price is, and it started going this way, okay, until the current price, which is here. So prices keep going up for this particular thing. There seems to be a demand for it, right? It's as if like right now, Tesla stocks are just flying all over the place. Apple stocks are flying all over the place. It can only go up if people want it. And if people want it, they'll pay more for it if they cannot get it. Okay, this was a second piece of learning that I had to go through. Because for me, if I'm hungry and I want food, I would click a button on an app and food shows up. But I never had this imagination of if I click a button that sometimes a restaurant is gonna say, sorry, we don't have that in stock. Okay? We live in an age of abundance where we never notice what it means to have something not available. Okay? So if I was to put it into a different perspective, imagine you go to a really hot new movie that just released and you really, really want to go to this movie, but so does everybody else, and there's one movie theater in town that has 100 seats. And we all run to that movie theater and we all want to get the tickets, and the tickets are selling for $10 a piece. There's 100 seats, $10 a piece the tickets are selling for. It gets sold out, and all of these people who are waiting in line, they just found out that it's sold out, there's no more seats available. So much demand, everybody wants it, but it's not available. What are we gonna do? Hey man, you over there, the guy who bought it, how much did you buy it for? $10? I'll give you 20, give it to me. The next guy will say, forget that brown guy, I'll give you 40, give it to me. The next guy says, forget these guys, I'll give you 100, give it to me. It's my wife's birthday, I wanna take my wife out, price is no issue, give it to me, $100. So this battle is going on and the bidding war has begun. This explanation, when it was given to me, I started to understand. So that's why a chart goes up. It doesn't go up because I hit a buy button. That's fascinating. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought because all the bankers who were sitting at their desk hitting the buy button, that's why the price is going up. but I didn't know collectively what's actually happening is something is not available and people are fighting. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so now I understood that concept and I was like, how do I find a situation where something's not available? How can I position myself in a market where something's not available? Okay, so the very first things I do, I'm going to show you the steps how I do this. The very first things I do when I sit at my desk in the morning, the first thing I want to run through is I want to look at the news. Okay, so I use Market Countdown. It's a free app. You guys can download it. It's our app, so it's available on your Mac OS or your iPhone, Android, wherever you want to get it. But in there, it shows you what news is coming up. Okay, I like it because it tells me in terms of how many minutes the news is coming up. So if I'm traveling, it just tells me in the next 5 minutes, news is coming up. So I like to see what kind of news there is for the day. And that sort of gives me a sense of activity. What happens if a news is bad? If a news is bad, maybe there'll be a shortage of something and people will fight for it. Because that concept I just learned. Remember that movie theater thing? I just learned that. So I was like, okay, so if they fight for it, I can take advantage of it. I can be there to understand this thing. So how do I need to find a market for that? So the first thing I learned is I'm not glued to this. I am not married to the product. I can choose any product. That's the beauty of the internet. I can choose whatever product I want that is hot. And if it's hot, I can find a way to make money from it. But how? Let me explain. So I scan through my charts in the morning. I know today is busy. There's a lot of news events going on, so it's busy. And I look for something that is moving to a certain extent. So when I look at, for example, this CAD yen, I noticed from a higher time frame that it's been moving from this price all the way until this price. And then I see how long did it take to get there. Then I measure time. How long did it take? Now, it's not a set science that it must be in a short span of time or anything like that. But the shorter the time span and the quicker it goes up, it means people must be crazy for this. Remember that movie ticket where I said you paid $10? What if I said, I'll give you $12, give it to me. And the next guy said, I'll give you $12.50. Do you think people are desperate? No. But remember that guy with his wife for his birthday that said, I'll give you $100 for it? Suddenly a $10 price ticket jumped up to $100 in such a short span of time. I'm looking for things like that on the market. Will I see something that does, this is the price, this is the price, this is the price, and then the price does this in a short span of time? That grabs my attention. It's like, wow, there seems to be a shortage in this thing. Now, if there's a shortage in this thing, I want to know, can I somehow get the tickets for this thing and sell it to that couple who's willing to pay for $100 for this when I can get it for less than $100? Can I stand in line for that? I'll stand in line for the next show as well. If I know it's hot, I'll stand in line all day until the next show, the next show, the next show, and I'll try to grab as many tickets as I can, as long as that couple or people like that are willing to pay me $100 for a $10 ticket. Yeah, let's do this all day. Remember, I don't want to work super hard to make this kind of money. So I'm interested in where can I make the most money and the most easiest money. Okay, I'm not interested in buying something for $10 and selling it for $11. I don't want to do that. This is why I never got into properties. This is why I never got into anything else of that sort, because the growth is so slow and I'm not about to quit my job for something that's going to be such a slow grower where I get old and my money grows, slower than I grow old, right? I didn't want that, right? And if I didn't want that, I'm sure as assuming you don't want that, right? So, recap so far. Everything you've learned so far is coming to a point where I'm trying to show you, how does this whole thing fit in? How does it sort of make sense to you? And then as you understand how I trade and you understand how now you can trade, I'm going to then introduce to you this indicator that was fascinating to me since the beginning, and it still holds true to today, where every time I use this indicator, I get a faster view of this is what I'm going to do today. This is where I'm going to make my money. I've tried tons and tons of indicators only to find out that they don't work, they're lagging, they're this, they're that. We've all heard those stories about different indicators, but is there such a thing as a good indicator? And the answer is yes and no. So there is a good indicator out there, which I'm about to share with you, but at the same time, it connects really well with the way I'm teaching you how to trade. If you can get these two things together, you become an unstoppable beast, okay? Now, whether being a beast is your thing or not, that's debatable. But let's get into this deeper a little bit. How do you trade? How do you make it work? Okay, so now that you understand that you want activity, right? So activity, remember, you can use any news calendar. I use Market Countdown. It tells me if it's going to be busy today. If it's going to be busy today, I'm looking for something where the prices have gone up in a short span of time that tells me there's crazy people on this thing. Okay, they really want it, and apparently they can't get it. If they can't get it, then maybe I can help, right? So this is going through my mind. So if I see a sudden rise in this thing, I want you guys to do a quick math in your head. The price is $90, and when it rose up dramatically until it stopped for this period of time, it stopped at approximately $105. How quick of a jump was it? So you say, well, $105 minus $90, that is going to be 10, 5, 15, $15. Now you have a baseline of, I know what they want, and it's jumped up $15 very quickly. Now, if it's gone up $15, what does a discount mean to you? Is 5% a good discount? Is 10% a good discount? 50% a good discount? Once you start to understand this concept is, I want to buy this same thing again, anything lower than 105. If I can get it low enough, I know there's couples standing in line that I can sell to. Okay, so this was my entry to this world. Obviously, I refined it to as close to perfection as possible now over the years, and this is what we call urban Forex. But this is where it all began, of if I can just get that less than 105, I'm in the green, baby. I can make money off of this thing because I know there's crazy people in line willing to pay me more than what I pay for it. That's how my journey began. Okay, so now if I can get the price low enough, I want to know this question of when. When should I stop? When should I get aggressive? When should I slow down? When should I speed up? I'm always asking this question where I know from this part, I know my anchor part, which is it's stopping at 105, and then I know, I want at least 30% discount, minimum, okay? Without even going into any sort of technical analysis or any of the stuff that I've been learning my whole life, and then these gurus come in and they tell me, what are you doing? That's not how you trade. You're just wasting your time. And it's like, well, but then please show me. I want to learn. I'm desperate to learn. You have no idea how desperate I was. I would have done anything. I would have worked for that individual for years on end. Just please show me the way. I truly want to learn. There's real desire in me to learn. It's not just a fake thing, or I just want to learn so I can buy a Ferrari. Not like that. I genuinely was very curious. So when that curiosity occurred, they saw that the twinkle in my eye and said, all right, kid, let's see what you got. I'm going to show you the ropes. And they started unfolding these mysteries for me little by little, little by little. And it started to make sense. It started to click. It started to put the puzzle pieces together. And I'm sure as of right now, it's starting to also make a little bit sense to you of perhaps we've been going about it all wrong. Perhaps we have to change our approach on how we look at the markets. Okay, so if we anchor down at 105 and saying, okay, it's stabilized at 105, I know at 90 there's crazy people. They go crazy after 90 and then it stabilized at 105. Maybe it's sold out or the next show is coming. I wonder if I can get a good deal because I know people are willing to pay at least 105. So can I get something below $105 and try to sell it at 105? Can I get that? So my mission is how low can I get it and can I sell it back to them at 105? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find, remember, I'm trying to find the easiest way to make the most amount of money so I don't have to work as hard as I used to work at my job. This is the only mission running through my mind is how do I do this better and better and better and more efficiently? Luckily in trading, we can just size up, we can just increase the size and really make it work in our favor. But we need to know what we are doing to make it work, right? So this is what I want to explain to you and wrap your minds around this thing. Okay, once price comes down to a certain amount of discount, you then begin your process of how do I do this buy? Now, many people will come at it with multiple theories. You can do a Fibonacci retracement, you can do an SNR and this and that. But I want to ask you this, whether you classify it as an SNR play or you classify it as this is a 61.8 Fibonacci play, or you classify it in whatever it is, does it not still fit under the paradigm of you're getting that 105 thing for cheaper? It fits. If it fits, you plug in whatever strategy you want to plug into that, it'll work. But if it doesn't fit and you're in this type of market, then you're going to be working so hard to make this much money, or the other way around, you're going to lose money. I don't want to do that. And I hope you guys don't end up getting stuck doing that as well. Look for the easy stuff. There's plenty of easy stuff out there that you can go after it and position yourself nicely to make sure you can capture the most of it. Okay? Up until now, is everything making sense? I want to make sure that you guys are with me 100% and every little bit that I've shared so far is going into your mind. I'm going to change the chart and I want you to tell me if I change the chart or if I change the product, do you still understand it? Okay, that's the most important piece. So let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, so let me bring the charts back here. And there we go. Okay, charts are back. Let's go into a different chart. So let's just, this is a stock from Dubai. Okay, let's just look at this chart in general. Now, prices for whatever time frame this is, would you say the prices are getting aggressive and they're getting crazy? People are willing to pay as much as they can for this thing in a short span of time. If yes, then every time it goes up and pauses, we can anchor down and say, oh, $8, $8. If $8, it started to run up from $5, you know that it went up $3, let's say, right? From 5 to 8, it went up $3. As it goes up $3, you're constantly looking at how much is a good discount that I can get this product, because I can see clearly people want to jump on this thing and they're willing to pay hot money for it. Okay? Now, they've done this in the past as well. It goes up, comes down, they pay hot money for it. Comes down, they pay hot money for it. Comes down, hot money for it. Slow, 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 slow. They're still paying hot money for it. This thing is hot. Hot, 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 right? So if it's hot, I'm interested, you're interested, everybody's interested. In real life, we like this thing. Where it becomes messy is when we decide that's a good deal and we enter at, let's say, 750, and then the price goes down to 7, we're like, uh-oh, Price goes down to 670. Uh-oh. Price goes down to $6. Uh-oh. This is what, as traders, are like, ooh, that's going to stop me out. That's going to trigger my stop loss. But I want you to change the way you think into understanding, why should it trigger something called a stop loss when you know you're now dealing with a good deal of what something that is so highly desired. So if you understand that, then the very first thing you need to put your energy on, the very first thing I put my energy on, is how do I make sure that the energy of the requirement of this product stays hot. And that's the secret I just told you guys, is how fast does it go up and in how much of a span of time. The faster it goes up in a shorter period of time, the more demand there is for that. Okay, and once it slows down and anchors down, you're like, all right, around the 1350, they're willing to pay for this. So it ran up from whatever this price is at 850, and it jumped up to 1350. So if you do the math, 850, 950, 1050, 1150, 1250, 1350. It went up $5, right? So it jumped up $5. So you're like, well, how much is a good discount? 50 cents? No. $1? That's a little better. $2? That's a little better, right? So you make these plans in your mind of saying, I don't really care what the market wants to do. I would get involved if I see a deal at least this big. You can actually make those parameters for yourself. You don't have to run and chase after the market thinking, oh no, it's going to go away without me. For you to make any money safely, the bigger the deal, the better for you. Because if people really want this, it'll go right back up. So the lower you can get it, the better it is for you, right? So if you get your head around this thing a little bit, then you'll realize a movement this direction is not necessarily a bad thing. It can actually be a good thing. But if anyone who's hitting the buy button, they panic when they see this look, when it's coming down. They panic. When in actuality, it's like, ooh, a better deal. Ooh, more discount. You guys get what I'm saying? Is this making sense a little bit? Because this is where I used to struggle a lot, where I mistaken a good deal with, oh no, it's not working. Does that make sense? Are you guys picking this up? I want you guys to understand this from, my journey that I went when I went into all this stuff, is as I started to learn all this, I wanted to go back to that indicator. I want to show you that indicator that I now till this day use, and I want to share that with you. But I didn't want to tell you about the indicator until I told you about how I trade. Once you know how I trade, then things become a little bit smoother. So I'm going to show you how I use this indicator to make the maximum as much as possible. So now let's talk about this. Okay, and then we'll revisit my CAD yen to see how much money I'm making there as well. I want to make sure that that's staying constant as well. Okay, here we go. Going back to the charts here. All right. Okay, my chart should be visible now. Okay, so now the indicator I use is basically moving averages. There's 3 moving averages particularly I use. Okay, I use something called EMA, okay, exponential moving average, and I use 3 of them. Now I'm going to give you the settings for each 3 of them. Okay, whenever you select EMA, whether you're on MetaTrader or TradingView, you'll have to input your settings. One of the settings is the length for the EMA is 20, and it's applied to the close. Okay, 20 in representation means it looks at the last 20 candles and it gives you an average. The other one is 50, okay? And then I have a third one that tells me 200, okay? So the last 20 candles, the last 50 candles, and the last 200 candles. Now, I've given you the indicator that's given me tremendous success, but I want you to take a moment and think about that. Why am I using these 3 indicators? Based on everything I've told you today, how can this be of use to me? the crazier the indicator is showing me the angles, and it's showing me, the last 20 candles is good, the last 50 candles is good, the last 200 candles is good. People must be super desperate for this product. Can I get a good deal? This has helped me stay constant by whenever I see my EMAs downwards like this, pointing down, and I see the price was here and then it jumps up very, very high. Should I buy it? I don't buy those because it's telling me overall the price has been dropping. I don't want to buy if prices are dropping. That doesn't look like people are crazy for it. So I only entertain it when my prices come back above the MAs, because now the logic and theory goes back to making sense of, if prices are shooting up at full capacity, can I get a good deal off of that thing? What if we have a different scenario? What if it's like this? It might be shooting upwards, the price, the moving averages, but the price has come down very aggressively and it's below some, above some, and overall, this is the overall it's upwards. Is that still a good deal? Well, depends on your time horizon. If people were basing here at this price, which is $5, and I write $5 here, and then they took the price all the way up to approximately $11.50, which they were willing to pay for it, $11.50 or $12, right? $11.50 or $12. We're like, wow, that's a pretty big move. What if you got into a buy here? Does that mean people no longer want to buy it? What if you got in here? Does that mean people no longer want to buy it? What if you got in here and the price goes down? Does that mean people no longer want to buy it? If you can identify the interest in the market is legit, that's step number one. Then you can identify what is a good deal does it mean to you. Once you do that, then you can identify the final phase, which is timing. How well can I time this thing to make sure if I do get in, that's pretty much the best deal I'm gonna get. I don't want you to look at that as, I got in and I suffered this much loss. No, I want you to look at that as, oh man, I got in when I could have gotten in there. I need you guys to change that thinking, because when I change that thinking, big things happen for me. Instead of getting upset prices going lower, I got upset that, man, I got in a little bit too high. I could have gotten a lower price. This shift in thinking did wonders for me. Okay, it did wonders for me because I wanted to understand, how can I be prepared next time? And then I refined my methodology till today is what we call urbanforex.com. This is a collection of all of my knowledge, refining this concept down to perfection of how do we get the deal just right? How do we get the deal just right? But the name of the game is to get into that deal when you know a deal exists. You cannot just go into any chart and say, I am only a Euro USD trader and get involved in a range trade when that's not easy money. That's so difficult. It takes so much energy and effort to make money off of that thing. And remember, I'm always trying to tell you that I didn't join this industry to work more than I was before. I wanted to join it where I can work less, but is my output more? And if I work less, is my output even bigger? This was the main thing that I wanted to achieve for myself year after year. So that's how I measure myself. Every year I count my winnings and I look at it in terms of my time. Did I spend less time to make more money? If the answer is yes, I'm on the right track. But if I'm spending more time to make less money or negative, obviously I'm not doing the right things. That was my baseline. It's not, am I on the right strategy? Am I doing this? That was my baseline. That's how I measured myself and saying, how do I know if it's working? How do I know if it's growing? Well, I just gave myself simple rules. Do I spend less time to make more? Fantastic. More time to make less? No good. more time to make more, it's okay. I prefer less time to make more. That's how I like it. I mean, I'm sure you like it that way too. Wouldn't you agree? So I hope with everything we talked about today, we went through so much details. When I started to trade this particular way and I started to combine these three moving averages, the EMAs, right? The 20, the 30, sorry, the 20, the 50, and the 200, then I had a much more clear vision on how to use the indicators. Because before I was using indicators just randomly and thinking, if this indicator crosses with that indicator and they cross with that indicator, I was just making a traffic jam. It didn't make any sense to me until I got the root of how do you trade. And now these indicators are golden. I like indicators now because it tells me, it's basically, the indicators are screaming, saying, let me help you the way you're looking at the market. I can guide you with that. I can help you make it easier. And that's when my love for the indicators, when I learned about them, they're lagging, it went away to a point where now they help me, my love for the indicators have returned. Okay, I hope you now start to understand that in the right context, the indicators can be very powerful. They can assist you dramatically, but you gotta know how to trade. You gotta know how to trade. Okay, I hope everything we discussed so far in this class today, you guys got a lot of information, a lot of use out of it. For those of you guys who want to take your education further, you can always head on over to urbanforex.com. Start your journey with the Mastering Price Action course. You don't want to jump into more complicated stuff in the beginning. Start it with the Mastering Price Action course and then work your way through. Okay, you want to get all of the courses, obviously, to make sure you get the maximum value out of it, but you want to start at the MPA and then work onto the Iconic Trader program. But don't just jump. Do it step by step, and things will make much more sense. It took me very long to go through this process, and I hope it doesn't take you very long. Once again, thank you all for attending. I really hope you had a good time and you learned a lot from this webinar. Until we meet again next time. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.